Escape vector plotted. Coordinates formed. Launch. Welcome, dear listener, to the Escape Vector podcast. Today we have part 1 of a one-shot in the Cloud Empress RPG system. Mothership and Cloud Empress encourage game masters to resolve actions and reactions simultaneously. This allows the game master to gather player character, non-player character, and environmental outcomes, then weave them into the narrative. So you might hear me gather the intentions and role outcomes of everything in a scene, and then interpret how the narrative plays out for that moment. Of course, you and your players might decide to do something else at your table, but we're intrigued by the style and are stepping out of our comfort zones. Let's get into it. You are in Delta City, an old rundown town in the clouds. The ruling Lordling, a man of the chaste, has mismanaged the city for far too long. You find yourselves, for one reason or another, preparing to board a flying ship toward Tacktown, the largest city in the lowland wastes. The ship is called the Barge and is piloted by Captain Stello. The Barge is a supply and passenger vessel. It's seen better days, but you got a great deal. The airship docks are bustling with passengers, merchants, stowaways, and security forces. The line for the Barge is among the shortest. There are about 10 people. Around you, people whisper rumors about the century brood of giant cicada creatures, the imago, emerging years early. Some point or snort loudly at two still figures at the front of the line. From where you are, you can see that one is 4 feet tall, hunched over, has long white hair, is wearing robes, and using an ornate wooden walking stick to support their weight. The other is 7 foot, broad-shouldered, bald, and is wearing a loose fur cloak over bandaged arm wraps. A person in coveralls takes their tickets and lets them board. So, tell the listeners at home about your characters.
Yeah, Duke Tears, I'm a Lordling. I was graduating from Cloud City University, and I have lots of outstanding university debts. I can do some magic. I'm quite good at speed, and my saves are not too good except fear. I'm young. I'm 19, so full grown, but not that old. I'm tall, thin, and didn't think too much about what I wear. So
Not a problem. Okay, thank you. What about the monster?
Aha. The name my father gave me was Jesk, but I never want to hear that name again. Born in a small village far away, I left at a young age when I discovered I had magical powers. My family turned violent towards me. After a beating that left me on the brink of death, I killed them all and I left the village. I vowed to dedicate the rest of my life to heal my peers and bring revenge to those who are suffering like I did. From then on, my name has been the Monster. I'm now 35-year-old, a respectable age for a mage. Mages never live to be old anyway. I've spent almost all my magic. It's taken its toll. If I am to end, I want to end with a bang. I have a head full of rage and a pocket full of chalk. I shall heal my peers and bring pain to those who despise magic users. I have survived by traveling between villages and towns and cities, healing the sick and wounded for resources. My name is known by many due to what happened to my family, and that is enough to scare most people who hate magicians away from me.
That's so cool. And what about your appearance or what you're wearing?
Well, I'm really average. Average height. You wouldn't notice me. I try to keep a low profile, so average height, average build. I'm wearing a traveling cloak, and I have a walking staff. I have like a bag full of surgical tools and medicine and med paste, stuff like that. And I keep chalk in a small pouch. which is a bit hidden. I don't want people to see that I have that, so it's not easy to see. And that's that. So I guess I'm pretty beat up. In this world, using magic takes a toll on you. Not only does it use the chalk, but it does take a toll. So I guess you could say that I'm starting to look like someone who's been ravaged by magic. At that age, at 35, I'm coming to the end, and I know it. So that's the monster.
All right. And how about Edge?
What's up? So yeah, my character's name is Edge. He is a full-grown sellsword. He is about 30 years old. The last thing he was doing before starting here, he was on the hunt for some fugitives in the desert. He survives mostly by completing some bounties, and he carries his bingo card of bounties with him. A bit of his backstory is that some lordlings killed most of the members of his village. He survived and became a sellsword, and he kind of swore revenge on every lordling and their kin, became very intense about it, sort of tunnel visioned this whole thing. And so long as he walks the wastelands, that's what he has on his mind. On his most recent adventure, he lost his sword and his dagger, so he's stuck with his revolver. He much prefers using his blades, hence his name. His nickname comes from his proficiency with his blades, but also with his demeanor. He's sort of short-tempered and short-spoken. He's not necessarily quick with his words, just with his blades. He is currently wearing a canvas poncho. He has a scar on his left eye, but he still has his two eyes. He's carrying this revolver that he uses reluctantly. He is missing his swords. Yeah.
Really cool. Okay. All right. So you three are in different parts of the line. Like I said, there's probably about 10 or so of you in line still. You just watched these two kind of mismatched figures kind of get accepted onto the airship. And I'll say that each of you in turn will be greeted by this person in coveralls who introduces themselves as Onion, the first mate of this ship. He also explains that he's the only mate of the ship, but we'll make sure your trip is the comfiest you've ever experienced. First class. So they explain to you, though, that for part of the boarding procedures, you will need to forfeit your weapons, and they'll be stored below deck. So that's definitely one thing. They'll also take your ticket for the barge. I assume everybody has a ticket for the barge, whether or not it was purchased by your character or acquired otherwise. And so what do you guys do? Do you relinquish your weapons?
When I get asked if I want to relinquish my weapon, I look at the guy, and of course, as a magician, I'm pretty beat up, so kind of shaking. I look at him and I say, "You wouldn't deprive an old man of his walking stick?"
You know what? Onion looks at you and is kind of an adult like themselves, but I think maybe like he looks younger than you, Jesk, and will kind of like study you a little bit. And as actually you're that close to them, you can see they have horns protruding from their head. And so that's a detail that like you couldn't really tell from further back in the line. Now you kind of like see that. But they study you, and maybe as you're kind of like looking at like those features, they're studying your features, maybe looking at like your wrinkles, what you're wearing, the walking stick, and they tell you it's okay. You know what? I think you're gonna need that walking stick. I don't want any accidents here, so Go right ahead. That's okay. And kind of just lets you on. How
Thank you,
about,
young man.
no problem. How about Duke?
Well, I just say to the guy that I don't have any weapons, and then I disregard him completely. I'm just not interested in him anymore. So I'm preparing to just board as if it was the most natural thing in the world.
Okay, of course you're boarding the ship.
No doubt in my mind.
Onion stammers for a little bit. You know, maybe thinks about saying something and then doesn't, and just processes the next in line, who is Edge.
I look him up and down, and I give a bit of a grunt, and I say, well, I was hired by a lordling to keep him safe, and so I know the code of using my weapon, but I'm afraid I cannot give it to you at this time. I'd be a little antagonizing.
Okay, so you have I think firearms on you, is that right?
I have one revolver.
One
Yeah.
revolver. Onion looks you up and down, and you know what, takes a deep breath, maybe like still reacting to the previous interaction, but you get a sense that maybe made a decision in their mind that they're not going to take shit from anyone anymore. And so look you up and down, look at the holster, they point at the holster and insist that you store your weapons. They will be safe, they'll be given back to you. And yeah, this is something that everyone is required to do unless it's something like a walking stick. They might even ask you if you plan on using your revolver as a walking stick.
No. And I grunt and I reluctantly give it to him, and I pay razor attention to what he's doing with it and where he's putting it.
And he kind of puts it in like a container next to them. Okay, so the three of you have been processed, and you get on to the airship. You enter in onto the lower deck, and a whole bunch of like walls or parts of the airship, there are these maps on the wall. So you have an idea kind of like where you are, what else is on the ship. The arrows on the map indicate kind of like stairs or like ladders, like going up or down. The kind of red squares, the small red squares, indicate like wooden doors. For the most part, the doors in the upper deck actually are kind of like a stronger material, because that goes to the bridge where the captain steers the airship. But you're currently on the lower deck, and you're in kind of the sort of like cargo hold area as you enter in. Because this is a supply vessel that sometimes uses a passenger vessel, you can hang out here. There's also more of like a first class observation room that's being used, which is over to the right on the map. If you'd like, there's a kitchen to the left of the map, which is the galley. Onion kind of, like as a good host, shows you around, maybe gives like a little tour of the kitchen and the immediate area. Yeah, just to kind of get you like settled in. So maybe after a few minutes, you find a place that you want to like stick around. Do you have a preference of where you want to be before you lift off?
I think Edge would probably like to seek the upper deck and then take a look at his card of bounties there and see if there's anything that aligns with where we're going.
Sure. Okay. How about others?
I think I'd just go to the kitchen area and have the most comfortable seat I could find.
Yeah, I wanna keep a low profile, so I'm gonna look for the most isolated seat or the place where I could be the secluded the most.
Okay, so the upper deck, there's a lot of space on the upper deck. And there's also quite a lot of space where you are currently in
Hmm.
the cargo hold. It's, there's a bunch of like sealed containers that are like strapped to the walls and floors, but there's a lot of like other space. Um, in that same area though are the two people that you notice in line, the really short one and the like really tall, broad-shouldered one over here
Okay,
on the
so
map.
I'm gonna stay in the cargo hold, but I'm gonna stick to the corner of the room so I can be by myself.
Sure. Sounds good. Okay, so you'll hang out there. Okay, so Edge, you go up the stairs, and you head to the upper deck. So it's an open deck. You're hanging out. It's I mean, you get to see kind of like the horizon, like forward, and like the clouds, on one end, and then you can also see like the city that's kind of the cloud city that's kind of going to shit. That you will be departing from soon. But one is, well, you actually might have a preference of view. It's kind of subjective. So I'll return to you in a bit, but you're going to be kind of flipping through your bounties and looking those over. Tears, you head over to the galley and you pass by those two figures who don't really, maybe like the shorter one, and you notice it's a actually quite like old woman. As you pass by her, you can hear her kind of like humming to herself, and she nods as you pass her. She acknowledges you, and as you go to the galley, you go through a wooden door, and on the other side, you see a pretty like well stocked like kitchen area. There's a built-in stove, sink, and freezer that's like inside of a like wall. There's a bunch of cupboards. There's a fridge. There's like a whole bunch of like stuff. There's even a bit like there's a sign that tells you that there's like a little med kit that's just like above the sink. Yeah, and you see Onion there actually. Onion's there just kind of checking stock. Maybe he has like a clipboard. He's like writing things down.
Okay, I just grab something expensive and go sit by myself.
Okay, Onion. You know what? You do that even before Onion tells you to help yourself. So you help yourself anyways.
Sounds like me.
Okay, great. So you find a seat in the kitchen area. Sounds good. So you're all kind of settling in. Edge, what kind of bounties do you have, and where do you expect to like find them? What's sort of on your list or top on your list?
A lot of these are fugitives. It seems like petty thefts or squabbles, like between lordlings and some of their groups, and they have certain hits on people. I think I have found one for where we're going. I would just
Okay.
need to clarify where we're going. Yeah.
Sure,
Uh,
Tacktown, the jewel of the lowland wastes.
nice. Yeah, I think I do believe there's a fugitive there, and it kind of piques my interest. And I'm thinking about, yeah, how I might get to them.
Very cool. And if for whatever reason they've fled from there, you'll probably be able to barter for some leads on
Nice,
their trail.
nice.
Okay, so you're all kind of settling in, doing your thing, and after a really short while, a voice comes over the intercom all over the airship. So you hear it even on the upper deck. Maybe it echoes a little bit. This is Captain Stello of the Bean Barge. I'd like to welcome you all aboard, and we are just getting ready to head over to Tacktown. This will be a round trip with one stop in Tacktown. We're just about ready to go. What's that? Right. Pre-flight check. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah. Good enough. It'll be okay. Okay. Okay, everybody. We're ready to go. Please make yourselves comfortable, and we'll be preparing to take off. And if you don't like it, and you hear, or you feel the airship kind of like jerk and like lurch, you hear like humming and vibration throughout. And he finishes with, if you don't like it, well, too bad. We're already leaving. And the ship takes off. And yeah, it's not moving terribly fast. If anybody needs to change their mind and jump off, you might have 2 seconds to do so before you leave the platform. Otherwise, you're off. So, a few moments pass, you see the city, the cloud city behind you kind of, shrink a little bit as you depart. Captain Cello comes over the intercom again and reveals that there is a lord on board, and suggests that all passengers, if they haven't done so already, to pay them a visit to pay their respects. And so after that brief message, the intercom goes silent once again. What do you folks do as you've just departed? Pre-flight hopefully went well, and yeah, you've also been given this kind of strong suggestion to go pay your respects. They are located in the observation room.
Did Edge hear the name over the intercom of the Lordling, of who this person is?
Right. Okay. Yes. Lace.
Lace.
Lord Lace.
So Edge is traveling with a treasonous book of royal family lineages, and its obsessive attention to detail actually conflicts with detailed court records. So it's a very not great thing to have. I can get in a lot of trouble for it. And I'm really at this point kind of in a discreet way thumbing through the pages for this Lordling's name.
Okay. They were Lord Lace is also traveling with her younger sister named Sippa. I think maybe, Duke, maybe even Edge, like you would maybe get a sense that Sippa is also her Lace's bodyguard.
Is it customary to pay respect to lordlings?
It is, especially if it's one that's kind of being given like first class treatment. People, especially people like in cloud cities, want to kind of like get in the good graces of lords and lordlings, even if they aren't the immediate ruler of their city.
Okay, so I'm curious. I don't know that person, so I make my way forward to the observation room
Mm-hmm.
to see if I want to pay my respects, if it makes sense for me to do so.
Okay. What about others? Edge, you're kind of looking through your book. the monster, you're kind of making your way to the observation room. So Edge and Duke, what are you doing in this time?
Well, for my part, I'm going to, let's say, pay my respects, but in a manner that makes it clear that it's more him that's paying me his respects than the other way around.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Sounds good. And sorry, Edge, did I get an answer from you?
Yeah, so I actually noticed in this book that he is a relative of a lordling that had a hand in what happened to my village. And at
Okay.
this point, I'm kind of seeing red and I'm
Okay.
trying to gather myself. I know that it's not a good idea for me to go to the observation room. So I'm going to stay in the upper deck and try to get my poise back.
Okay. By the way, both are women.
Okay.
So I'll say that Jesk, you're already pretty much right next to the door. So
Don't call me Jesk, by the way. It's the monster
the
now,
monster, right?
or else.
Okay, sounds good. Or else.
Yeah. So okay, tell me when I get there. Can you describe the scene for me, please?
Certainly. So you go through the wooden door, and on the other side is this pretty lavish, like wide open observation room. But you immediately get this overwhelming smell of blood and like death. You get a sense that there's something not right here, despite all that you've seen
Mm.
or might have seen in your life. So there's a bunch of twisted blankets and torn sheets that are kind of like full of like blood. They're kind of like tossed around the room. There's a bunch of couches near the end, and where this token is at the far right, there's a woman who is kind of lying down on the couch, kind of just like lingering there. She looks like she's half dead. She's wearing like this kind of like cloak that has wires kind of coming out of it. You're not sure if it's like mechanical or like organic. It looks like a mix of both, but some sort of like armor piece that has this cloak and these wires attached to it. You can hear her kind of like breathe.
Okay. So with my, I want to call it medical knowledge, but medicine skills and mysticism, maybe. Can I get a better sense of what's happening or what I'm seeing?
Do you move closer?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. You head on over. You get a closer look at this
Yeah.
at this woman who's here. She's gasping. She turns her head really weakly towards you. You can see that she's kind of like bleeding like from like the side, like has like
Oh,
these pretty like deep like wounds. Um she looks over at you, and you maybe didn't expect this, but she sort of smiles or how like smirks, and she tells you, "Oh, good. Help is here." And shows you, like reveals like her like wound a bit more to you.
so what does it look like?
It's pretty big gash like in the side of the torso. It's
Like she's been stabbed, or is it like a gunshot wound, or?
definitely like a like stab kind of
Okay,
thing, and like it is kind of leaking quite a bit.
okay.
You know, she continues to breathe, and she explains to you that she's suffering wounds from a recent duel and would do anything, or would reward you like handsomely if you like help heal her.
Looking at those wounds, do I have any chance of healing her? Is it worth it for me to try?
If you have do you have any healing magic?
I do.
Okay. you have med paste too, is that right? Or is that Duke?
I have med paste. Yeah, I have med paste. I have surgical tools that could be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Now let me look at my magic here. I think I would use channel healing.
That's good. I'll also say maybe at this time, Duke makes it into the room. And so as the monster is kind of thinking about what to do, Duke, you've arrived and you kind of see the scene from one end of the room.
From my perspective, does it look like the monster is actually attacking the Lordling?
Okay, so the monster, I mean, you kind of look like you're helpful, right? You have your walking stick with you, but
Yeah.
you know, you're not holding it in like a threatening manner, right? So I'd say
I actually put my walking stick on the ground so I can examine her better and use my, maybe I open my surgical tool bag to examine her better.
okay. So then, Duke, how quick are you to like misjudge misjudge situations?
Well,
Is this a normal thing for you?
well, I'd say yes, because I've been misjudged myself. Plus, right now I'm seeing some strange person right upon a lordling, so I tend to think that the person wrongly placed here is not the lordling. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's-
Okay, this is gonna be interesting. So,
so yeah.
because of that, Duke, how do you react to this situation then? Like, if you had to make a decision in a second, what how would
Well,
you react?
first thing I do is go to the monster and put my hand on his shoulder. Hey, what are you doing?
So you run over?
Well, no, I'm not pushing it to the pushing him to the ground, but I'm kind of confused about what he's intending to do, and I won't let him hurt her more.
Okay. Great. So you quickly stroll, you speed walk over.
Yeah, I try
And
to interpose between the two of them and make sure he's not hurting her.
okay.
Hey, buddy, I'm a healer. She's wounded. Come on, move out. Move out of the way.
I have a good look at him. Does he look like a healer?
As I said, I am wearing traveling clothes. I have this walking stick, but I also have this surgical tool bag. In it, I have quite a bit of medicine and stuff related to my healing practice.
Right.
But physically speaking, my face is a bit ravaged as I've used magic quite a bit. It does take a toll on you, so you can tell that I have a bit of mileage. But other than that, I don't think I stand out in any way. So
Well, if I see medical supplies and let's say good intentions, I stop my intervention there and I just move a little back.
That's good. So you'll kind of get out of the way a little bit. Okay, so with that, the monster, you'll kind of proceed to try to like administer first aid, I think.
yeah. And while I'm doing this, I start have a conversation with her if that's okay with you.
For sure. What's the aim
So
of the conversation?
well, to understand how this wound was actually made, how she got wounded. So she said that she was in a duel. So I asked her, please, Lord Lace, as I heard her name, tell me of this duel. What happened? How'd you get wounded like this?
Okay. So Lord Lace, she tells you that she's actually not Lord Lace. She's Lord Sippa. And she explains to you that she was dueling her older sister and sustained injuries during that duel. they routinely have these duels to keep their skills sharp, but also Sippa explains that Lace, when she wins, rubs it in her face and kind of uses it as a time to like humiliate and like put her in her like subordinate position.
Yeah.
Or
Like it's customary between lordlings, right?
who knows? Maybe Duke is kind of like nodding around, like, yes, makes sense.
Yeah, I'd say yes.
As one does. Right. So yeah, maybe Duke is just kind of like listening and is fascinated and agreeing with everything. But yeah, Sippa explains that this final duel, though, they before boarding the bean barge, Sippa really sustained like a pretty bad injury and was just sick of Lace rubbing it in, humiliating her, and decided to take that opportunity here on the bean barge to just slit her throat and silence her once and for all. She's now the Lord.
So, if I understand correctly, Lord Lace is now dead, right?
That's right.
Any signs of her body?
Are you kind of just looking around independently, or?
Well, I kind of expect to find it somewhere near.
Mhm.
So yes, I'm looking for it.
Sure. So right, we'll just get back to the monster. The monster, are you still, while having this conversation, I'm learning more about Sippa and the situation. You're still administering first aid?
I am.
Mhm.
I need to know though, is it normal for lordlings to ascend to the lordship by killing or by murdering? Is that accepted, or is it something that would normally be considered like a crime and should be punished by
Mm.
the authorities? How should I react to this confession?
Would you ask Sippa?
No, no, I'm referring to my own personal knowledge of the world and how things are handled. So if lordlings, if it happens often that they duel together, I guess that sometimes there must be deaths. And so I'm just wondering, is it like a crime or murder, or is it considered like the
Mm.
result of the duel and that's it, and there's no crime committed there? She just got a promotion.
Maybe, you could ask Duke for like the nuances, right, about this, but maybe as like a magician and some of your experiences, you get a sense that yes, lordlings, especially like ones of like the same like family,
Mm.
duel, but for one to murder another outside of the context of a duel is frowned upon and is considered murder, and also is likely that the kind of bannermen or people who serve that house of lords will kind of seek to avenge the fallen lord.
Okay. So, having heard that confession while still administering my treatment, my first aid treatment,
Hmm.
I turn around and I look at Duke to see what his reaction is, and I give him a look of confusion as
Mm.
to how to handle the situation.
As you're administering first aid, we'll say that because this is a life or death situation, I'll ask you to roll your mind stat, and if you have something that could, like a skill that could help you with administering first aid, you
I have
can do
medicine.
that. Great, you can make that stat check with advantage then. So roll a d100 to roll under your stat.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if
Okay.
I said roll twice.
No, I rolled the wrong dice, but
Okay. And take the most favorable outcome.
that gives me 94. I fail.
Okay. Roll the d100 again.
Now I would succeed.
Okay.
23.
So you take that result. So you stabilize Sippa's wounds as she's continuing to talk. You said you looked over at Duke. Is that right?
Yeah, I turn
And
around at Duke and I give him a look of confusion as to how to handle the situation.
okay. Edge, what are you doing in this moment? Are you still kind of like hanging out on the upper deck?
No, at this point, I think I've collected myself a little bit. I've been in this situation before because this is a pretty substantial book with a lot of lineages and relations. So I've learned that the best way to tackle this is to kind of insinuate myself into these lordlings' business. So at this point, I'm going to go downstairs. I know it's kind of a norm to pay respects. So I'm going to enter the room. And as I enter, I kind of see the commotion that's happening. I see that Monster's healing her. I see that there's a little bit of a moment, like a glance shared between them. I sense a little bit of something. I can't really put my finger on it. But seeing the Lordling wounded makes me feel conflicted. In one sense, I want to stop the monster, but I see an opportunity for myself to kind of offer my services as protection because I assume maybe they were attacked. I don't know the story. So I'm kind of just approaching with an intent to figure out what's going on.
Do you assume that monster attacked her?
No.
Does everybody assume that monster?
No. I think that I noticed that monster is in the process of healing
Okay.
so I didn't think that. No, I think I
Okay.
also caught on to them being a magician. I am proficient in being street savvy, so sometimes, yeah, I know the vibes.
Perfect.
So you didn't go to the School of Assessing Situation, the same school as Duke Tears went.
No, no.
Okay.
Perfect. So you scan the room and you take in the situation. Tears, I know you mentioned you were going to start kind of like looking around for a body, kind of like inspect the room a bit. Sippa kind of notices you doing that and coughs a bit and says that she stuffed the body actually in a drop pod on the mechanical deck, one of the escape pods, so below.
Okay, I don't intend to go there right away.
Mm-hmm.
Can Edge pick up on this? Is he like kind of paying attention to what's going on? Can he follow? Like he's very much interested in seeing where this person might be. Well, I guess he didn't really hear the conversation.
I think from where you are and when you entered, you might have heard that part, like there's a body in the escape pod. Like that's maybe you have that out of context.
And I'm very curious about it. So I noticed that she pointed down to a mechanical pod or in the deck.
That's right.
And I want to go find it.
Okay. So you're gonna go head over that way, right? Before you leave, you kind of hear Sippa tell the monster, or give the monster like her thanks, you know, for stabilizing her. Says that like a lordling never forgets, and always like repays favors. And so she mentions to Jesk that there's a reward for him actually in the washroom of the observation deck. So I don't know if anyone wants to linger around if you like overhear that, or if you're kind of going to do your own thing.
I definitely perk up at reward. The tummy rumbles. Provisions are hard to come by. And so I perk up. I stay. I certainly stay.
Okay, so you're hanging around. Monster, you heard about this kind of reward that was offered to you. What do?
I go and get the reward. That's my trade. That's how I roll. So when I heal people, I get paid, quote unquote. So yeah, I head to the bathroom.
So you enthusiastically run over, skip over to the bathroom, kick open the door, excited for your reward, and inside you see a pretty like organized bathroom. There's a toilet sink. There's a bit of like blood like on the wall, on the floor. There's a kind of like long like instrument that's like leaned up against the wall.
Okay, so
It's almost as long as your walking staff actually, but it's like wider and thicker.
is there anything else in the bathroom that could be mistaken with a reward, for instance?
Not really, unless you want to take home a toilet or sink.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so I picked that up, and before leaving, of course, I want to confirm with Lord Sippa that this is the reward she intended to give me for my services.
You pick up this instrument. It's kind of like wrapped in like I guess like sort of like leather. It kind of, the leather like slides off, and you see this like engraved rectangular like firearm, or what looks to be like a sort of like firearm. And Sippa tells you that this is one of her house's like prized like weapons. It's like an heirloom that gets passed down. It's an experimental solar weapon, like a beam gun, and it's called the Hound Catcher. She bequeaths it to you for saving her life, and says it's yours if you can keep her safe throughout this voyage.
Does Edge overhear that? Can Edge overhear that?
Sure. Yeah, even Duke overhears that.
Yeah. So Edge perks up and realizes that his services can certainly be offered. So he approaches the Lordling,
Okay.
and in some sort of short but charming, suave way, he says, "I see that this person, I don't know the relation to them, can help you after the fact, after getting a cut like that. But if you let me, I can help you before that actually happens, or take it for you, or stop it from happening. Let me pledge, my currently stashed away revolver to you for this journey."
Okay.
And I'm trying to not steal the monster's thunder, but this is my opportunity to hitch myself on this wagon if I'm going to get the revenge that I kind of want.
How about you, Duke? Are you going to to swoop in?
Well, no. They want the thing. I don't care too much for it, so I'll pass.
You must have better than that anyway. So, what did you call it again? The Hound?
Hound Catcher. And
The Hound Catcher.
yeah, for your information, it deals 3d10 damage, but it can only be shot once, and then it needs to recharge under a full moon.
It's a solar weapon, but it needs to be recharged under the moon, right?
That's right.
Under the full moon.
Under a full moon.
To top it off. So once a month, you can shoot it once.
It's
Okay.
it's experimental.
Very, very.
It's a family heirloom.
Can you believe this?
It's ornamental.
More than anything. Okay, all right. So yeah, I
Think
cover
about-
it back up, and I can't really have it on me, but I use it as a walking stick, and I keep both sticks basically.
Okay, so you're double fisting.
Yeah, like a Nordic walk thing.
Very good. Perfect. We'll see if we can get you some skis. Edge, Sippa accepts, your kind of like fealty or your service, and we'll say there's some things in it for you as well, for your loyalty and service. She does not expect to hear anything from Duke, so she just kind of like leaves it at that. What do you folks do?
Well, I kind of figured that there must be an extra dueling weapon somewhere near, right? As both lords did a duel, is my reading correct?
Right. That could have been stashed where the escape pod is.
I'm heading there.
Okay, so Duke, you're in there. Also, do you I guess Edge and Monster, you've kind of pledged your service to this Lordling. Duke, you've kind of walked in on the monster, and even tried to like intervene in the situation. Do you all kind of exchange introductions with each other?
Not that much, no. She's just been, let's say, put in place, and she's wounded, so I don't have much interest in formalities right now.
Edge and Jesk, like you've been joined by like all these people in this room.
I think Edge feels like it's in his best interest to keep good face with people that he's now going to be serving. So he edges toward the monster, and just puts his hand out and kind of grunts and says "Edge," and hopes to make an acquaintance.
As I said, I'm not not trying to meet people. I want to keep to myself. So I shake his hand, but I give a very boring answer. I'm just a traveling healer. And I guess at the same time, I see that the Duke is moving towards, or I think he's moving towards the escape pods
Mm.
on the mechanical deck,
Mhm.
because I'm interested in seeing what happened to Lord Lace and find the body. Maybe she isn't dead yet, or I don't know. I just want to go see if I could do something and maybe bring her back to life.
Okay.
I'm very Edge is very happy with the fact that the monster doesn't really take interest because he just feels like that's the one less person to kind of worry about. So he turns his attention to the Lordling and pops a squat beside her.
Okay. So sorry, Edge, you said that you're going to kind of squat next to Sippa.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to her really, just to kind of build some rapport, get some information.
Okay. We'll see what's going on with Jesk and Duke. Okay, so both of you kind of leave the room, and as you're heading to the kind of stairwell going down to the mechanical deck, you notice that the kind of like older woman is still in the cargo area, but is now sitting alone. You see
That's the short, 4
the
feet tall one,
that's
right?
right, the short
Mm.
one. And so you notice that, and then as you're kind of getting ready to go into the stairwell, you see the larger one, the 7 feet tall one, the man kind of come up from below, so ascending this staircase from the mechanical deck, and just sort of like brushes past you, and doesn't say anything, just kind of goes
Is
past
that
you.
person holding anything special? Am I noticing anything?
No, they kind of have like their like arms like covering their body, but they're wearing still like their really loose like fur cloak, and they have
Okay.
sorry, they have the older woman has like a wooden mask on, and you actually recognize her as a what is called a brood mother or brood sister, who are kind of like these priests and priestesses of the giant cicadas, the imago.
The
And
ones that make the offering on a yearly basis of corpses, right?
that's
That's
right.
that. Okay.
They make offerings.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like a religious order.
and the big fellow that's coming up the staircase is wearing a like clay mask, um, and kind of looks like maybe a like lower tier like initiate into that order, so like a brood brother.
Like a brood baby brother.
That's right. Okay.
Okay, I don't make anything of it. I basically follow Duke if Duke is going to the escape pod.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I'm not stopping either.
So you descend down the stairs. So in the mechanical deck, when you get to the bottom, you can see there's these four escape pods. The four escape pods are these circles on the maps here. These small circles. You know that there's like these four here. They have these kind of this kind of composite material called plasteel. So it's like a like plastic steel kind of composite material that's like pretty ubiquitous in this world. So they're made out of that, and their doors are like the hatches are also made of that material. But they have like these little like windows on the doors or the hatches. Do you like investigate the hatches?
Yeah, tell me if one of those have traces of blood or seems to have been messed with or that kind of stuff. I do not necessarily intend to open the four of them if not necessary.
Sure. I'll say that you just by kind of just looking around, like if you just turn around and do like a 360 and look at each of the escape pod hatches, you can see one of them has a computer terminal next to it that's been like smashed, and there's actually a like saber, like a sword that's like jammed into the hatch.
Is it dueling sword?
Yeah, it's definitely a sword that is used for dueling. And
Okay,
as a Lordling, you could see that as like a common choice.
I grab it.
Okay, so you'll need, it's like really like or it's like jammed into it, into like the locking mechanism. So it will take some strength to pull it out. Do you want to try to like pull it out or find another way of
Well,
dislodging it?
tell me one thing. Does the monster look stronger than me?
Good question. The monster also just left.
What's your strength value?
I have 25.
So slightly. I have 26.
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So indeed, I try to dislodge it.
Okay. Make a strength check, please.
Nope.
So you're trying to get this thing unjammed, and you actually might have pushed it in more, like made it like a bit worse.
Oh.
Edge, what is your strength stat?
38 is my strength stat.
Okay. Duke, do you remember that fellow that came into that room with you? I don't know if you ended up getting their name, but they were in the observation room with you. They had like this cloak on, maybe a little mysterious, but you get a feeling that maybe they're pretty strong, or at least stronger than you.
Yeah. Before I do that, tell me, we're kind of in an emergency exit thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there some, let's say, axe or a crowbar or anything that can help dislodge it?
This is the mechanical deck, so there have to be kind of like tools lying around some places. So if you want, you can fairly quickly like find something like a crowbar or the equivalent of a crowbar to
Yeah,
try to like get
if
leverage.
I could get it out myself and not publicize too much what's down there, I'd begin by doing that.
Okay, I'll warn you, if you don't do this properly, there's a chance that like you break the sword, and like the hatch might like not be able to be like opened properly.
Okay, but then again, whatever the strength stat of the other guy would be, there are still chances that he would still fail, right?
Sure. Actually, you know what? Since sorry, let's say that you could probably find like along the edge of the hatch, like someplace to like get it into. So I'll just say, go ahead and do a strength check.
Okay, but just to open the door, not to recover the sword.
That's right, to open the door, but the sword will like fall out when you open the hatch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did not grab. Okay. Since I have a tool now, could you make it with advantage?
You know what? I'll say yes. So roll a d100 twice and take the better result. For
Two
you.
of them, huh? Okay. Yeah. Wow, both of them succeeds. So it's a huge success.
And sorry, did you say critical success or just regular success? Like you just rolled under your stat.
Can you remind me what critical success is?
To make a stat check in this game, you roll a d100.
Yep.
So you roll that, and you need to roll under your stat. If you roll and the number has like double digits, like a 33, a 44, and it's under your stat, then that's a critical success.
Okay, so no critical success. I got 10 and 20.
Awesome. You're able to pry this door open, or this hatch open, and the sword comes out. The hatch swings open, and you hear like the sword like clatter against like the ground, and there's a bunch of like bloody sheets that are like covering a body, a woman's body, like the back of the pod.
Okay, I pocket the sword without thinking too much of it, and I grab the sheet and I look under it.
Yeah, so you see a kind of like fancy dress. Well, you would recognize this as, someone wearing like a lord's clothing. But yeah, there's blood all over. There's a like slash mark like across the neck or across like the throat.
Which is not too much like a dueling wound, right?
Well, you were there for the explanation, right? That Sippa gave.
Well, I think I arrived a little bit late, so I'm
Okay.
not quite sure what I've heard or not.
We can say that, yeah, maybe. So you're saying that your character looks at that and like assumes like that's just like a normal like dueling wound.
Okay, so in other words, nothing extraordinary there, not for me.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll just say you can add to your character sheet the sword that you just picked up.
Okay.
It does 2d10 damage.
Does it have a special name? Just sword?
It's just a saver. Maybe it's like engraved a little bit, but it's not like it's not an heirloom like the other one.
Perfect.
And we'll cut back to Edge. So you're at this time you were kind of talking with Sippa?
Yeah. So pledging my sort of sword or fealty to her. I'm curious what business she has in Tacktown.
Okay, so Sippa kind of like will draw out some of her answers, but will say that she was kind of like on a diplomatic mission with her sister Lace, and that's what was bringing them to Tacktown.
Just kind of hearing that, I'm kind of curious about what sort of trouble she might suspect, if this is just pure diplomacy or if there's off the record tracks we might have to make.
That's an interesting question. She considers that and says, there's a complication now that her sister's dead. So she's not really sure what the plan is. There might need to be a bit of laying low for a while, right? And kind of assessing, the situation and how, folks will react to finding out that her sister is dead, if and when they find out. So she's kind of like mulling those things over. But Edge, at the corner of your eye, you're on this observation deck, and you see the corner of your eye, like there's like the clouds outside, but you notice that there's like these kind of like scattered like groupings of the imago that are kind of like appearing through like the clouds. And as you see them, maybe this is for the first time in your life or first time in a long while, please make a fear save.
Nope. No.
Okay,
I'm
so
afraid. Yeah.
no, don't worry. So maybe this kind of like shakes you a little bit. Add 1 stress to your sheet.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, Duke, you failed once, so add a stress to your sheet as well. So there's these imago that are kind of like appearing through the clouds.
Are they coming toward us?
Yeah, you're kind of like seeing them kind of like get closer and closer. You hear a bit of like shuffling, like the cargo hold area. What do you do?
Certainly curious about the noise. I look at Sippa. I sort of suss out that the room is secure. It's just her here. I try to, well, I'm not in, I guess I don't have to reassure her if she's nervous about the imago, but because I hear a bit of a kerfuffle, I'm going to kind of poke out and see what's going on.
So you poke your head out and you see the kind of shorter, older woman going up the stairs to the upper deck. She like beckons you to come with her.
Sure. Yeah, he's curious. He's very much curious. So he follows.
She's already maybe like on the steps going up, like shuffles up, and you follow behind. When you get to the upper deck, you don't even see like the Cloud City behind you anymore. Like you're pretty far out, and yeah, there's like these imago that are kind of flying around, and this woman, she approaches you and says, "My name is Mempha. I'm a brood sister. And I sense them coming. The holy imago.
What do they want?
They want the chalk. This whole air barge. It runs on chalk.
What, Does she seem concerned, or is she just more in this trance of wonder and?
That's right. So she's kind of like swaying like back and forth as she's like explaining these things and answering your questions. And she kind of tells you not to worry too much. She's going to do what she can to try to pacify the imago when they arrive. She also tells you that the person that she was with, whose name is Genmo, is nowhere to be seen, but she doesn't think that his heart is in the right place. She has like these doubts about this person, this new initiate.
Did she offer this up kind of willingly? Is she just making conversation with Edge? Well, I asked, why do you think this way? Like, what has he done? What's he doing?
She tells you that he, like many people, who join the order from many different walks of life, they all have kind of like a past. But Genmo has been a recent initiate, a few days only, and is probably not being completely honest about their past and their motivations for joining the order.
Do you feel like he has something to do with the situation we're just about to find ourselves in, with these cicadas coming near us?
She doesn't suspect so, but she thinks there's something going on, that he might have ulterior motives.
So Edge, with his experience, he hasn't encountered too many in his life, but every time he has, he knows to run. So he definitely feels some nervousness, and he also, in that nervousness, I think, is trusting of what this person is saying. He's starting to get concerned and with what she's telling him, and maybe feels that Lord Sipa might need his assistance. So I think he heads downstairs just to do a quick check-in with the Lordling and see if
like just before you're heading down the stairs, you feel this buzzing and fluttering rapidly approach, actually, and a giant like cicada like lands near the front sail, so just kind of like to the right of where you are.
oh my god.
And that's where we'll leave off until next time. Has Edge's luck run out? And where is his gun? What is Jesk gonna do with the experimental weapon? Let's find out next time. The Last Voyage of the Bean Barge is a scenario written by Watt for their Cloud Empress ecological science fantasy RPG. Two of the best ways you can help this podcast include subscribing to the feed and telling your friends to check us out. Thank you to Epidemic Sound for our music, and most importantly, thanks to our players and listeners. Over and out.